Yeah, all right. So, as a college student from the U.S., a worker from the U.S., I want to compare what has it been like working in Finland compared to working in the U.S. Well, first off, there's some opportunities here as a professional athlete that I just don't have in the U.S., so that's one thing. Uh, Qualification for certain things are very high here without the high pay. So that's going to be the. I'm going to start with the negative, and then let's hope I remember. Let's start with the positive because I on Finland, and then we'll go to the pay aspect and salaries and so forth. Culturally, very different. So people believe that they should work a large time of the year, and then they have time off at night where you're not even allowed to be called by your employer. That's just like time for them to get extra hours from you in the U.S. So that's something. Most people in college and high school and all this stuff have never worked three jobs at the same time. I have not met one person that has had to have a day job, a night job, and a weekend job. So that's out of the equation almost completely because of their social support systems and the family idea. And they don't kick people directly out of the house right away. They're kind of going to help you get going. Whereas in the US, you're 18, get the hell out, get a car, you're on your own. So they have the culture of the vacationing, which is, it's beautiful. And before I go into vacationing, I should also say the maternity leave is one of the most amazing things I've ever heard of done for families. Like, I think it benefits the men and the women, even if the women get a longer maternity leave of 9 months and the men get some time off too. But holy shit, what a fantastic thing. It's hard for the employers to have to deal with this, but so good for the society that the employers aren't the main concern here. Sorry, some employers are going to be affected, and it's very rough for small employers here. It's almost impossible to hire somebody because you can't fire them for any reason. They really have to mess up. So it's there's lots of rules with the protection of hiring people that also make it difficult for people. First off, they're going to use people for a trial period and put a new guy in because they don't have to give you a contract, and they can just keep putting people for 6 months. So it doesn't protect everybody. But in certain circumstances, it can be good. So with the work life, I've noticed the social aspect after is just more relaxed. When people get done at work, they're done at work. Whereas, no, in the US, like I said, you probably have a night shift of something else, or you had some other stuff you had to do, some project from work you have to do at home. You have to make some phone calls, some emails. No, most people just do not have that on average here. So the workload is a bit more fair. The overtime is a bit more fair too. There's not so much overtime. People don't want to pay for that type of stuff. So people seem to get really fair hours. So I'm sure for health, this matters big time. And people are saying that this is one of the happiest countries on the planet, probably because you have a good work and home balance compared to other countries that might be pursuing more value, more stuff, right? Because I'm fucking up. I don't have a night job after my regular job, and I really could have that. And I don't have a weekend gig anymore. Man, I used to DJ and try to make $1,000 on a weekend. Nope, none of that. Bartending on the weekend? Nope, nothing. Just enjoying having my time off. A lot of your value as a man or woman doesn't come from your job title here. That's very strange to me. In the US, it's like the first question. They don't really care what your name is even as much as like, what do you do for work? It's really important because then they can figure out how much money you make. They're going to look at your clothes, your shoes, all of these things and judge you based on that. Here, women have dated me, gorgeous women. This is crazy. Well, I guess there's just so many pretty women here. And they really didn't care how much money I was making. Like, all right, maybe they asked what I do for work, but they really didn't care. Or they might know that it's not paying very high, and they still were interested in dating me, which in the US, that's craziness. Any long term, yeah, you might get somebody to sleep with you. But if somebody's going to be with you long term, they need to see value from the male point of view. I've never met a man that's been really successful with high status women just because he was a nice guy living with his parents and having no car and stuff like this. It's impossible. Here we don't have that culture of the you must have a car to have sex. That's quite nice because Jesus, I'm not saying for me, but I'm just saying, wow, puts a huge amount of men just out of the game, period, just because they can't afford a car and it's expensive. So Another thing on the positive side, they don't have this 7% cumulative interest I keep mentioning in every video. I really think it's the biggest problem in the US for rich and poor, for companies, and yeah, everybody. So that's great that your income isn't going to drop by half in 15 years because the income's so low. Let's just say, like, I think an accountant on average can make 2,000 something here a month. That's salary. So go ahead and take away 1,200 for rent, take away food and other stuff. Why would you go to college for something that pays so little? Well, because there's a level of respect and people believe in the system and they trust that the system won't bankrupt them. That's important too, huh? So it's not just like you threw your dice and really were going to hit the fan. No, if you didn't get a job, you'd be fine. There's unemployment support as long as you're trying and doing okay. There's a lot more relaxed energy there. I think that's enough on the positive for right now. There's a ton more I can go into, but let's not blow my load. So, on the negative side, holy shit! I'm an American citizen, but I also have dual citizenship as a Finn. But there are things that would make it very difficult for me to consider having my children be growing up here in Finland. The main thing being, I don't trust that when they get their first job 25 years later after birth or whatever it is, because they don't need a job through high school here. They don't, not so much. So it might be 25 years until they work. I'm not so sold on that. There will be a strong economy in Finland in 25 years. If the pay is already about 2,000 or 1,000 for part-time work for qualified jobs, will it stay the same? I don't know. So that's a concern. Like, how can you send your child to a school in the US and spend years of the not making money and then justify them coming to a country where they might make less than 3,000 a month with a master's degree? Like, what's the point of the 7 years of school, even 4-year degree? Everybody has a 4-year degree here, and a master's is basically like a high school diploma. So I have not been, it's like that would be the most mundane thing to talk about, I guess, is your degrees here, because people care more about what hat you have on your head than, oh, you have a master's? Well, that's what everybody does here because it's free and that's the lazy, easy thing to do. So you have a lot of overqualified people that are making less money than a waiter in the US. So maybe just turning tipping into a thing that you could do in Europe would improve most jobs for people that have we got a lot of waiters and bartenders here with degrees. Just tipping would bring that income up big time, and the quality of restaurants up too. But yeah, so that's a weird trade-off. That's one thing that I got to give the U.S. Even though it's tough to get good jobs, even what you would consider we think of a waiter job as a low-status job in the U.S. You don't go to college and then end up as a waiter, right? No, most people do. I would say that in today's world, most people with degrees are probably working these low-skilled jobs. They don't require training for multiple years for you to get them. But as a 15-year-old, I was able to make more money than most people in their 30s can in this country. That's devastating for me to think about as an entire country. There's just no comparison then. The Mexican minimum wage is $3 a day? And it doesn't even matter what our minimum wage is. It's not the minimum wage. It's most people are going to make the money from the other things, from the tips and stuff like that, in California at least. You can't live off minimum wage. So that's untenable. You have to have 3 jobs, like I said. Now, the rent's a lot more expensive in the US for what you get. And you're going to require a car. But a car is a lot cheaper. Just buy a used car. You can get a used car for like $1,000 that runs. I've seen people do it. And that was a smart choice. Then you can upgrade when you get something nicer. But no, we're pretty stupid in the U.S. For me, as an 18-year-old, I was convinced I needed to have as nice of a car as I possibly could afford with all of my credit. And they'll give you $12,000 as an 18-year-old in the U.S. for a car. Waste. I couldn't even afford my payments. When I missed one payment, they took the car back, and I think I lost 10 grand on that car. Sweet. But we make decisions not based on understanding the market. They don't educate us for that. So this 10-minute video is more education than I've ever gotten about any idea of what the work life would be like for me after I get done in college. Before college, I made far more money than I ever did after. The degree never mattered. If you are young, attractive, tall, can speak well, and you have skills, let's say you can sell something, you're going to be able to work. Sales are some of the best growing and highly treasured jobs, because if you sell well, they got to treat you well. They don't have to, but it doesn't make sense for them to get rid of people that work well for them. So you really can feel solid about, man, this company really wants to keep me. And you get none of that here. People stay with the same company for 20 years. There might be no parachute at the end, no retirement. You just end up on the regular retirement. You're most likely 40% of people that are, I don't want to say this wrong, but fuck it, we're going off memory. I think it's like 40% of the people that are retired here are retired because of handicap from their job. So that does come with just age anyway. So, right, I'm going to be happy to be retired from my sport if that's the way it goes. And I wouldn't say that would stop me from choosing it as a younger man. But can you imagine if you have some decent English skills, or imagine you have some good Chinese skills right now, huh? Russian, then you really could just export yourself to a country where the pay is double the amount or something like that. It's not necessarily just double in salary. You might have to find, yeah, you can't just say like working in a hospital pays double in the US, but the wages are higher, the opportunities are going to be higher. Plus, imagine if you're one of these high status people that I imagine are going to be paid the highest amount. Well, move to a country where there's more opportunities, even if it's more cutthroat, and I think you have far more opportunities to land if you're playing the roulette game on a good spot. I think there's like less good spots here. But I think that's more fair. I'm interested in the more fair for everybody approach. But I don't think everybody else is. I also like the meritocracy thing. That's why I like sports. Because at least you have to earn it if you beat me. Kind of. My sport's just a little bit dirty, but still. Those are the huge differences I've noticed right away from working in the US since I was young, and I've done tons of different jobs. And then moving here to Finland and seeing what the work life can be like. I've been here 5 years. I've stayed in the same type of field, but the women I've dated have been in different markets, and I've seen what master's degrees typically means for them. And I don't have a master's degree. I wouldn't be interested in earning one, even if it's for free here, because, like I said, it just allows me to compete for a few of those jobs at the very top of something I really don't want to do to start with. And if I enjoy staying in shape and competing, then this feeds me. I don't really need the external support to have, like, I don't need something more to make me feel good about my life. So working in Finland can be something that really fits me well and has been just incredible because you get to change your pace of life. I speak slower, I appreciate nature, I like the clean water. I thought all of that stuff was hippie bullshit that would really, I would upset myself if I would listen to my videos 5 years ago. I'd be like, well, come on, man. And trust me, I'm not trashing the US. I'm trying to make comparisons of both. I think both these places are the two best places to live on the planet. The US, clearly the best, but Finland has some amazing things going for it too. You know, it's so clean here, and the people are beautiful. The air is cleaner, and there's less suffering here. So I enjoy seeing less suffering, but I also don't enjoy the fact that you have less chance to make it out. You have 3% of people that make over 150,000 a year here, and I think that's just a household. That's not a very big amount. Can that even support a family of 5? No. So you're saying probably not even 1% of people can afford 8 kids here. It's just, you just couldn't, even if that was what you wanted to do. Whereas in the US, it's hard to afford kids there too. They're very expensive, but you definitely could afford more with a just pretty lucky job. I think if two people were just bartenders, you could afford 8 kids in the US. Yeah, you could afford your own caretakers and all that stuff. Yeah, it wouldn't be a problem. I want to cover this a bit more in the future, but this is just one quick thing. I absolutely love living in Finland, though. But Jesus, man, the U.S. is... How can you ever shit on the place that has given so much opportunity to so many people? I don't know another country. I'll say that one last thing about America. Is there one other country where so many different groups of people can come and succeed from there? You don't even have the rights to work in most other countries. But fuck, if you do something good and you bring some value, anybody can work there. Canadians, Africans, Asians, doesn't matter. Just do something of value, and we like that. Coming here, I don't know if you have the same rights to work in European countries, but yeah, probably a weak argument at the end there, but I don't care. Anyway.